Dear participants, we are extremely sorry for the inconvenience caused. Thank you so much. With Almighty, we are able to resume. Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute University, graded with special autonomy status, welcomes you for the 5th day of Faculty Development Program on multidimensional scaling from science to technology, powered by Engineering and Technology First Year in association with Office of International Relations. Very good afternoon and warm welcome to each and every one of you being with us for a long time. Education is one of the fields that has been greatly influenced by the introduction of technology. Every year, we see emerging technologies and their trends that are geared towards us, certainly making our lives easier, better, and faster. That's true, but yet, the unbeatable and the most powerful computer forever is the human brain. One of the astonishing and intricate parts of human body. Our brain has 100 million neurons with roughly 1 quadrillion connections wiring these cells together. Really feeling wired to see the memory capacity of the brain is around 2.5 petabytes. That is million gigabytes. That's why we have many memories at a time. Human brain can forecast the things and think about the future. It's so remarkable. As humans, we have the ability to learn the new task without forgetting the previous knowledge. We are able to focus on our work irrespective of our environment. Yeah, attention is yet another magical property. Let's say, like what happens when all the wonders of the brain, like episodic memory, consciousness, its attention capability, and its cognitive ability are put into a machine. That's elusive goal of artificial intelligence. A machine mimics like a man. Is exactly human brain is recreated in deep neural networks, termed as deep learning. Literally, it's learning by mind. One of the brightening people around the world are teachers. Now, dear professors, let's be jack of all besides our own subjects. In that view, today's session will be enlighten us with recent advancement in deep learning. With this happy note, now I request Ms. Devi from Department of Mechanical Engineering to welcome the gathering. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Lata, ma'am. Good afternoon to all. I'm Devi, Assistant Professor from Mechanical Engineering Department. First, I like to thank our Honorable President, ACS Arun Kumar sir, for permitting us to conduct this FPB program on behalf of Dr. MGR Educational and Research Institute, first year Beta Campus. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome to all of you here in the fifth day of our wonderful FDP program. Recent advancement in deep learning research in associated with international relation office. I welcome to Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi, Vice Chancellor of our university, Dr. V. Cyril Roche, Joint Registrar, Academic Admin, Dr. D.B. Jebarash, Joint Registrar, E&S, Dr. N.S. Subhastri, Dean, E&S, and Dr. Kausalya, Coordinator, International Relation Office, to be with us today. We are fortunate to have an admirable speaker, Dr. Kola Bhanuprakash sir, Research Group Head from the Department of Computer Science from KL University, to talk about the recent advancement in deep learning research. His passion and knowledge towards the deep learning research will make today's session as very useful and effective. And we are honored to welcome you, sir. I would like to thank our valuable participants who are all assessing this event via live video chat from our Dr. MGR Learn Smart YouTube channel. Once again, welcome to all, and stay home, stay safe, and learn more. Thank you, ma'am. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. That was a nice welcome. And today we have Dr. Kausalya, Coordinator, Office of International Relations, the one who renders her huge support in the successful conduction of the FTP program, is here with us to share her views and thoughts. Ma'am, please. I think she is unable to join. One of the happiest moments in one's life is to invite our good old faculty friend as a chief guest to our institution and listen to his successful testimonials, for which I welcome Ms. Hema of CS Department to introduce our chief guest.
Good afternoon to all. Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon to all. I first thank Dr. N.S. Subhasri ma'am for giving me this wonderful opportunity to introduce Dr. Kollam Prakash sir. He is currently working as professor and research group head in CSE department, KL University. He received his MSc and MPhil in Acharya Nagarjuna University, ME and PhD in computer science engineering from Satyabama University. He has almost 15 years of experience working in the academic, research, teaching and academic administration. His current research interests include deep learning, data science, smart grid and image processing. He is the IEEE senior member, reviewed more than 100 peer-reviewed journals. He published 45 research papers, 4 patents and 5 books. He is selected for Marked with Who's in the World. And we once again welcome you for this faculty development program, sir. Thank you. Now I leave it to Lata ma'am.
Thank you, Hema. On behalf of organizing committee, once again a warm welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Bhanu Prakash. Sir, could you please wave your hand and say hi to all? I think all our physics friends, all our physics friends and the entire first year are reviving their memories. And you too, the MGR, beautiful memories of MGR. Sir, I hope you are a right person who beautifully wearing the attire of both science and technology. That's holding the highest degrees both in physics and computer science engineering. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very
sir.
much.
Dear professors, for a little while, let's take a deep dive into the deep learning. Now, sir, it's your turn.
Yeah, please can I request Maheshwari madam to share my slides? Okay, I think I can switch off my camera. it will consume a lot of data unnecessarily, I think.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Your wish.
Is it okay? No problem, no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's your
Can I
convenience,
start?
sir. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Can I start?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good afternoon to everyone. I thank our Honorable President, Honorable Registrar, Honorable Vice Chancellor, and all my old colleagues with whom I worked nearly for 7 years. Okay, it was very nice experience in the past. Okay, let us not waste much of time. I will start because already it's too late because of me. So, today I will be generally going through a little bit of more deeper into the deep learning. I will also explain a little bit of what are the main important differences between machine learning and deep learning, why this is so much important area of research in the present day. Okay, after that I will tell you also the main importance of predictive analytics and a few important applications of machine learning, data science. I will tell you what are the big data analytics, all those things. And I'll give you some important frameworks which are used in the modern day, and in the upcoming days they will be used. And at last, I will be giving you some differences between what is this GPU that commonly people are using now. What is the difference between GPU and CPU and GPU? Okay, and a few conclusions I will be giving. Okay, so suppose if anybody is not able to hear me, please kindly, Maheshwari madam, please text me in the chat. Okay, thank you. Okay. So please go to the first slide where I will be giving contents. So you'll be coming across in the contents like all the topics what I have told you. Okay, so I will be stressing each one of them. I'll be going a little bit deeper into that. So please go to the first slide where I will be giving the introduction. Next slide, please. Because contents I have told you already that I will be covering all these topics. Okay, so now you can see very clearly. First, initially, if you want to go directly to deep learning, first, generally, a user should know what is exactly artificial intelligence, what is machine learning, and what is deep learning is. In general, computers makes decisions with logic. So that's what we generally call it as artificial intelligence. That logic is generally generated by the program that users write. Suppose if that is not the case, where computers can make decisions without being explicitly programmed. That is, totally 100% user is not controlling the machine. Machine himself can think by itself and can take some decisions and can make some decisions. That you call it as machine learning. Okay, so that is the main difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning. That's why we generally say machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence and deep learning is a subset of machine learning. So what is the deep learning is that is computers making decisions where decision criteria do not have to be defined or guided. So you don't need to guide it, you don't need to define it, but computers can take decisions quite deeper into the context. And you require more hidden layers in deep learning compared to that of machine learning. Generally, we say that in machine learning, we are confined to only 2 hidden layers. And deep learning, we have more than 2 hidden layers. We can have 4 to 5, some 7, 6 hidden layers also are there, depending upon the architecture that you're using, depending upon the application that you are doing. Okay. So then another important feature of machine learning and deep learning is, I will tell you in the next one diagram will be there. Then I will tell you, we generally depend upon feature extraction. The main problem after pre-processing is feature extraction, where machine learning, lot of supervised learning is required for feature extraction. A lot of programming knowledge is required. A lot of algorithmic knowledge is required for feature extraction. Okay. Whereas in deep learning, that is not the case. Feature extraction is inbuilt and the hidden layers and the internal feature extraction can be done by the machine itself. So programmer does not need to bother more time he need not spend in developing these features and extracting the features from feature extraction procedures. Okay, so that is the main difference between artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. Okay, go to the next slide where we will see. Please go to the next slide where you can see commonly used platforms which you will be seeing. Even though you're a physics person, you're a chemistry person, or you're an engineer, civil engineer, mechanical engineer, or computer science engineer, definitely you would have come across all these terms in day-to-day life. Where in artificial intelligence, mainly you would have come across IBM, the Deep Blue Chess program. Machine learning, you would have seen that IBM Watson Analytics, commonly used every day. If you see any scientific blog, you're seeing that particular IBM Watson, Google search algorithm, Amazon, AWS, email spam filter, what you're seeing daily in your Gmail. Okay. And if you go for the deep learning, you're seeing AlphaGo, natural speech recognition is another important platform that you're commonly seeing. These are the differences that you can see which platform is commonly used in which particular technique. Please go to the next slide, wherein you can see these are the latest. Please go to next slide. Maheshwari madam, please go to the next slide. Yeah. Here you can see these are the latest trending research challenges that are there. These have the applications in the past also, they have in the present, and they are also going to be discussed in the future. Okay. What happened? PPTA? Yeah, not this one. Go to artificial intelligence application slide. Previous one. Yeah, this one, please. If you can see here clearly, so artificial intelligence applications, okay, since it is the superset, so machine learning comes under this, deep learning comes under this, and you can see computer vision is the first one which you can see. Computer vision can be done best using deep learning provided with GPU. Okay, and speech recognition and speech synthesis is the other very important application. You can see a lot of people doing a lot of research in this particular field. ECU department and computer science engineering department, they are doing a lot of stuff in this. And then you have natural language processing, a lot of language understanding is there. If you see only in Northeast, you have around 270 languages are there, different slang are there. How to make a program to understand all that particular different dialects is really a challenging task. But people are able to manage all that using artificial intelligence algorithms. Okay, advertising is mining. A lot of doctorates are doing a lot of research now. Okay, all these are latest trending challenges which has been for the past 10 years we are seeing, and still in future also it is having. Robotics and robotic process automation, robotics with AI, robotics with deep learning is the present trend that is going on. Please go to the next slide. As you can see, this will be of really interesting for first year staff, first year faculty. Why you can see, like, you should not feel like machine learning and deep learning is only confined to computer science or ECU department. You can see there on the top, you can see physical and computational science is it. Like a lot of high energy physics also requires machine learning support. A lot of catalysis requires, a lot of atomic simulations. You can see a lot of chemistry people are working there. A lot of chemical generation stuff you can do using machine learning. Okay, right. If you can see computer science related security aspects, if you see a lot of cyber security, ultra-sensitive detection, you have radiography, you have hyperspectral imaging, remote embedded detection, all that is xenon characterization. All these are important domains where a lot of machine learning, a lot of deep learning research is happening here. And if you can see some people belong to atmospheric sciences, earth sciences or biologists, okay, they are working a lot of machine learning and deep learning work in metabolomics, cancer imaging, satellite imagery, earth sensing. And if you can see EEE department people, a lot of EEE department people nowadays are working in smart grids. I have noticed Dr. L. Ramesh sir is working very good in energy distribution. A lot of work he's doing, closely monitoring him. Yeah, his research is doing very good. And he will be interested in machine learning and deep learning, how you can use them to control, grid control and optimization, radiation sickness, all these. Okay, so these are wide range of areas wherein we work day in and day out, where we are trying to work machine learning and deep learning research. Please go to the next slide where you can see more of, please go to the next slide where you can see more of what is that artificial intelligence? Okay, why we use that? So generally, artificial intelligence also gives you a feeling like the ability to sense, reason, engage and learn. Okay, so all these are the fields that you have seen already in the previous slides, like voice recognition, robotics and motion. Hello? Hello? Yeah. Yeah, you can see a lot of computer vision, natural language processing, voice recognition, robotics and motion, planning and optimization, knowledge capture. These are the fields where we are mainly concentrating. We are mainly concentrating in artificial intelligence research. Machine learning is another important field where we mainly concentrate on three different characteristics. One is supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. We will see the differences between supervised learning and unsupervised learning. Three important areas of research wherein we are classified. Then after that, if you can see, other than this supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning, we also have some different methods, like we come across regression trees, decision trees. Okay, these are the methods generally we apply mainly to reason. See why they are classified so neatly. See, the ability to learn, in that what machine learning techniques we apply are supervised learning, unsupervised learning, reinforcement learning. And what are the methods that you apply for the ability to reason is regression trees and decision trees. And then there are different platforms where we come across different technologies like sensors, we apply application program interfaces, APIs, UX, all that. Okay, so please go to the next slide where you can see from the way back in 1950s, just imagine, that is before lasers were invented. Okay, from there till date, how AI is evolved, and where is machine learning it started, and where is deep learning, and where it got started. Actually, you can see there in 1960s, a technique that enables machines to mimic human behavior was emphasized. So early AI just generally got started roughly around 1960s and 70s, where it started, where Turing machines started at that particular time. And in 2010 around, machine learning generally got very well known to many people, and deep learning generally evolved after 2012, 2013 and all, it started. Machine learning was there from 1990s also, but in general, mainly deep learning started from 2010. Okay, so can we go to the next slide? Where you can see a lot of machine learning industries. Please go to the next slide. Where you can see a lot of machine learning industries that are there. You can see these are the popular industries that you can see: artificial intelligence, data science, natural language processing. You have financial services. You have people who are doing BCom, BBA, MBA. They are doing a lot of data science work, research work in that. Computer vision, speech recognition, data visualization. A lot of Tableau work is applied in data visualization also. A lot of this stuff is being observed in the machine learning industry now. Okay, right. So let us go to the next slide. That is a very important slide. Please pay attention to this slide, because it gives, this single slide will give you lot of knowledge regarding complete machine learning algorithms. Let us start from the start in the center. Okay, we received something called a dimension reduction. So if you have, we need to check whether it is yes or no. If there is a dimension reduction, then definitely you need to go for unsupervised learning. In unsupervised learning, we will go for dimension reduction. Now, after you enter that block right side, you need to check whether topic modeling is there or not. If topic modeling is not there, then you need to apply principal component analysis. If topic modeling is there, then you need to apply and go for check for probabilistic approaches, whether we need to apply or not. If probabilistic approaches are required, then you need to go and apply latent Dirichlet analysis algorithm. Okay, and after that you can conclude the results there. Else, if that is not required, probabilistic approach is not required, then you need to apply singular value decomposition. SVD technique is called popular one. So this is what you generally do if you have dimension reduction. Okay, unsupervised learning. Suppose if you don't have dimension reduction, you receive a no. Then what you have to do? You need to check for the responses. If there are no responses, then you need to go for unsupervised learning again. But in unsupervised learning, we will go for clustering. Okay. So in the clustering, what you have to do? You have to check whether you have to go for hierarchical algorithms or not. If hierarchical algorithms are there, then you will go for applying hierarchical algorithms and you will conclude the results. Else, if hierarchical algorithms are not there, then you will check for what is the value of k. So if checking the value of k, you can go for categorical variables. If categorical variables are present, then you will apply for k modes and you will conclude the results. Else, if categorical variables are not there, then you will go for DBSCAN algorithm, which is a very powerful algorithm in pattern recognition, in data mining and deep learning also. Okay. So we will conclude the results using DBSCAN algorithm and you will give the final result. Else, if categorical variables you entered and you don't find any k modes, then you will go for preferring probabilistic analysis and you will give either k-means clustering results or Gaussian mixture model results. So this is the hierarchy that you follow. This is the flow of work that you follow in unsupervised learning in clustering. Okay. Suppose you are not having unsupervised learning at all. Then you need to check for supervised learning. In supervised learning, what you need to do? You need to check whether there is a numeric value or not. You need to predict numeric. So if there is numeric is there, then you need to go for a supervised learning regression. You need to apply regression. Please remember, if predicting numeric is applicable, you need to apply regression in supervised learning. Supervised learning means you need to work with the help of some supervised people. Okay. Some other one will be monitoring you and guiding you. So now at this stage, you will check like speed or accuracy. Okay. If accuracy is important parameter here, then we will apply random forest, either random forest algorithm, neural network algorithm, or gradient boosting tree algorithm. These three, any of them best fit, we will apply if accuracy is the main parameter. Else, if speed is the main parameter, then you need to go and apply decision tree or linear regression algorithm. Okay. This is with respect to if predicting numeric is yes. If we should not bother about predicting numeric, then we will go for another last category of supervised learning with classification. So in classification, first we need to check whether we need to depend on speed or accuracy again. If it is accuracy, you have to apply kernel SVM, support vector machine algorithm, or random forest, or neural network, or gradient boosting tree algorithm. Yes, any of these algorithms can give you depending upon the application depending upon the project that you are working. If it is not the case and speed is the important parameter, then you will go and check whether the project that you are doing, the work that you are working is explainable or not. If it is explainable, then you can conclude using either decision tree algorithm or logistic regression algorithm. If it is not the case, then you have to check whether data is too large. If data is too large, you can conclude using naive-Bayes classifier. Otherwise, you need to apply linear support vector machine or naive-Bayes classifier. Okay. So this is the overall layout of machine learning algorithms day in and day out. All they are working. Okay. Yeah. Let us go to the next slide. Next slide, please. I hope you all understood the previous slide. The previous slide is very important. You can share it with your students. That single slide will give complete picture how a student can choose which algorithm he need to apply in his area of research. And this one is an important slide which people generally use in inter-department, especially wherein design engineering people generally they use in machine and deep learning research. Generally they come across in MATLAB. So you can see how to access data, how to analyze data, how to develop some algorithms related to deep learning, machine learning, how to apply some data science using some statistical methods, applying using R programming or Python, and You can also learn algorithms deployed for inference using some desktop apps, some embedded devices, some enterprise systems. Okay, so if you come to the first one, you can see the access data, where you access data with the help of a lot of sensors, lot of files and databases, where a lot of IoT related applications using deep learning, using machine learning, they are used. Images, video, lot of sound, vibrations, lot of real-time streaming data are accessed using and later they are analyzed using deep learning and machine learning. Also, you can, after accessing, you can analyze that data using a lot of data exploration algorithms, and you can also use some pre-processing algorithms, and you can give some very good results which will be helpful for design engineering people. Okay, so please go to the next slide. And giving a complete overview of each important topic that you need to cover if you want to face the latest research challenges. Okay, so this slide will be very useful for all the students and also all the higher management faculty, management management in the universities and colleges also. So these are the different partners that are connected with Deep Learning Institute. You can see Coursera over there. You can see Dell EMC. You can see Udacity, which is a powerful nanotechnique courses are applied using that. But a lot of other, you can see these are the powerful platforms where Deep Learning Institute is a powerful institute which is helping GPU resources for machine learning and deep learning research. Okay. Right. So we need not discuss more deeper into this, because this is useful for giving a glimpse to the student, like how powerful deep learning is, how many companies are involved in this, connected in this, and how many are there partnered with Deep Learning Institute. Please go to the next slide, where I will show you what is the roadmap of machine learning. You can see earlier in the beginning I showed you like the early 1960s, where you see Turing machines. You can see the same thing here. And then in the 1970s, they started talking about what is perceptron learning algorithm. Okay, all that. And in the 1980s and 1990s, where we started discussing preliminary machine learning, Deep Blue algorithm, all that. Okay, and you can see in the 2016, and you can see in the 2012 that ImageNet classification algorithm was discussed. Yeah. Then next, go to the slide where you can see clearly using a simple image, you can see the difference between machine learning and deep learning, which I explained to you in the beginning, that in machine learning we will be having some headache with respect to feature extraction, whereas we need not bother in deep learning to write a lot of algorithms related to feature extraction. We need not concentrate on that. So you can see machine learning, you can see there will be input. After that, there will be a separate cycle called feature extraction. There is different level. After feature extraction, there is another level called as classification. And after that level only, you will get the output, as if like a car, you able to identify using pattern recognition approach. But in deep learning, it is combined. So you need not work separately on feature extraction. The computer itself helps you regarding that feature extraction. And deep learning, that is the advantage of using deep learning. Okay, you don't need to write so many pre-processing algorithms. Those things will be worked out within the machine itself. And a lot of hidden layers, you can see, a lot of hidden layers are involved in the middle. And finally, the output comes out. Okay, next, a small other modification of the same diagram, you can see what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning in the next slide. You can see, please go to the next slide, where you can see same thing. You can see what are those examples for feature extraction. So you can see, suppose a lot of IoT related stuff you are doing, IoT devices you are connecting. Okay, you can see some bulbs, some telescopes, some biological microscopes, some computer peripherals, all are involved. So you need to identify those features in machine learning, but that is not the case in deep learning. Okay, right. So yeah, go to the next slide where you will explain a lot of applications. Yeah, this is the important slide you will be interested in. See, the single slide you can understand how many departments can work together. Interdisciplinary research, how much work is required. You can see image recognition. A lot of EC and computer science faculty are working together in this. Natural language processing, generally, mainly the CSE department faculty work in this. Portfolio management and prediction of stock price movements. A lot of computer science and MBA people can work together. Interdisciplinary research can be carried out. You can see drug discovery and better diagnostics of disease in healthcare, where you can see this is a major sector where a lot of people are working now. You can see biotechnology, biopharmacy, bioinformatics, by all the bio streams they are working in this, biomedical engineering they are working in this, and also they are doing a lot of work with collaboration with the computer science faculty. You can see speech recognition is another important area of research where a lot of ECE department and computer science department are working together. The next last important application that we have given is mainly robotics, self-driving cars, autonomous vehicles. All these are used in mechanical and computer science department. They are together working to give best solutions for this. So this slide is important, very important slide, which will show you that entire university depends on deep learning and machine learning. Go to the next slide where I can show you. There are mainly three categories we generally work in machine learning and deep learning. One will be dealing with images. Other one will be dealing with voice related stuff. So audio will come into picture. Other one is textual form. So in the first one is related to images, where we mainly do what you do is we label images actually. We give each image, each frame a particular labeling. And we do a lot of research later on. In audio, we generally go by frame also. Speech recognition stuff is done, and textual data, textual processing, we generally do in web search, web mining, lot of media mining that you are doing is. Another example, next slide, you can see the features. As I told you that features are not available in deep learning, but features are available in machine learning. So what are the features that you come across? You can see in the middle. You can see exactly in the center, what are the features that generally they develop and they try to map and they get the final detection. You can see, suppose that is a stabler that you are using there. A stabler, what are the features that are there in vision features? You map between both of them and you give that particular detection. And then go to the next slide wherein you can see features of text processing. In the previous slide, I showed you features for machine learning. Here, if you see features of text processing, which is a little bit difficult to process. Why? Because you need to know a lot of knowledge related to parsor, named entities. You need to tag a lot of things. You need to apply a lot of stemming algorithms are involved. A lot of natural language processing is involved in this. This single slide is a very, very powerful and common basic slide for natural language processing people. Go to the next slide where we can show you that the bigger is the better. That is, we are discussing about neural networks. Remember, deep learning means mandatory. You have to remember that a lot of neural networks is involved here. So the size of the neural network is very important parameter here. The larger the network, the bigger is the better output that you can get it from that. So the performance depends upon size of neural network. So that's what you can see. K-means clustering provides the better result among all existing algorithms. Right. Go to the next slide. So please remember, output of the previous slide is the network, the size of the network, the size is more, best results you will get it from that. The next slide you can see, in this you can see the input is a girl's image, and I said many hidden layers are there in the middle. So 3 hidden layers are there. What each hidden layer deals with in the deep neural network to give you the final output. So initially after input layer, what will happen here in deep learning is it is again classified into different edges in the hidden layer 1. After that, after edges, we need to combine some different edges. We'll go for shuffling and we'll go for a combination of different edges to bring out some object models in hidden layer 3. And after mapping, then finally after sorting, applying algorithms, we will come out with a final output at the output layer. Same like another application I can give you. In the next slide, you can see Albert Einstein image. You can see. Please go to the next slide. You can see the next slide where in the same task is done here also. Feature learning and representation learning is done here. Face detection is the main object here. Like all that you do is after taking the input, we convert it into pixels. The pixels we'll be able to use it to detect the different edges, and then we combine them with the different face parts. We go for combination of edges, and finally we get detecting those particular faces. Okay, this is a very important example. These two, what I showed you yesterday, last slide and this slide, very important slides that you can use for face detection. Please go to the next slide. Yeah, this one will give you a complete picture about a lot of data science that you use in deep learning. Please remember, data science, deep learning are not exactly two different streams which don't have relation. These two have a relation. Obviously, deep learning's final output also depends upon what data science algorithm that you are applying there. So you can see a lot of fields of interest. You can see time series analysis. I have given clear classification. You can read it later because a lot of other slides also are there to be discussed. Okay, I think madam will share you the PPT. You can please go to the different all the tabs that are given there. Go deeper into the stuff. You can see what are the different platforms that are used in forecasting, what are used in anomaly detection, what are used in geospatial, what are used in networks, text analytics, all that. Okay, right. So go to the next one. Next slide. This single slide will make a student understand very neatly, like to see in a single image, how to see in a single cheat sheet, what is the difference between a perceptron and a neural network, what is the difference between a perceptron and RNU, or if you want to know what is deep learning, what is Markov chain, what is Hopfield network, you can able to see easily using this single slide. Okay, right. So, yeah, please go to the next slide where I will start explaining. I have given clear explanation regarding a lot of differences between lot of differences between AI, machine learning, deep learning. I have given it here. Okay, now I would like to explain it. Right. So please go to this predictive analytics case. So here you can see what are the main differences, what are the main fields of research that is carried out in predictive analytics. One is regression, you can see. Forecasting is another application. Classification we do. Decision trees we go for. Machine learning. And we also go for text analytics in predictive analytics. We will see what is this predictive analytics, what are its different areas of research in the next slide. Please go to the next slide. This slide will show you like almost same what we discussed in the previous slide is we have seen different algorithms that we apply. In this slide, if you see in which particular area mainly predictive analytics is used, in which particular area of research we generally go for. Okay, so you can see there business, banking, finance, retail, telecommunications, credit scoring, all these stuff you will be using here. So please remember, predictive analytics is a very important category in data science, machine learning, and deep learning. Okay, predictive analytics, without predictive analytics, you can't do any research in COVID-19. COVID-19 research is obviously latest research that all over the world people are working. So predictive analytics is required for your COVID-19 research also. Go to the next slide, please. Please go to the next slide where you can see what you do in predictive analytics. You ask for a lot of things, you get some data from many sources, then you access them, and then finally you prepare it by applying some cleaning and classification algorithms. After that, you give input to the predictive analytics, where you generate insight in developing a lot of regression, decision trees, machine learning, AI, forecasting, all that. Okay, yeah. Go to the next slide. The same thing is explained there. I'm doing a glimpse of it, to give a lot of awareness regarding various fields I wanted to cover in 1 hour. That's why I'm going a little bit faster and explaining a lot of concepts here. Okay, you can see here consumer behavior, machine learning. You can see patterns. You can see scoring, visualization, predictive behavior, decision making, communication, statistical model. All different various analytics are used here. Okay, right. So various analytics are used. It's not like only predictive analytics used. There are another 4 different analytics that generally used, which we will see in the next slide. Please go to the next slide, where I'll show you what are the different types of analytics that commonly in the modern day people are using. If you see here, purple one is the predictive analytics, which generally says that like what will happen next. But before that, initially, generally we need to go for what is our plan. So planning analytics is the first phase. So what is our plan? What we need to discuss it. So you need to go for detecting COVID-19. Okay. So what is our plan? You need to plan properly all the analytics. Then after that, you need to go for descriptive analytics. You need to discuss like what happened. You need to go deeper into that. Then we will go for why it actually happened. Why did it happen? So we need to diagnose. You have to come across all the diagnostic analytics here. Then we will go for predictive analytics, where what will happen next, you need to judge it. Suppose lockdown is open now. What will happen after July 1st? Okay. So how you are able to judge? Using data science algorithms, how you can judge what will happen? What predictive analytics can come out? You need to talk to many people, take many inputs, take many sources, data. Then you need to apply some algorithms and you need to come out with some predictive analytics output. The last one is, after you have come across, after doing a lot of research, you have some output from predictive analytics. What you need to do is, you need to give prescription for them. You went to a doctor and doctor predicted that something is wrong in your body. You are suffering from cancer. Then what he does, he gives prescription for cancer. In the same manner, you have done a lot of research in COVID-19. You got a predictive analytics. Out of predictive analytics, you have seen like what will happen next. All the predictive analytics is there on your table. Now you need to go and meet a particular person, a data scientist, who can give prescriptive analytics for that. Okay, this single slide is very important slide for data science people and deep learning people. Okay, yeah. Go to the next slide, where some examples you can say, a lot of use cases that commonly people are using now, which we call it as predictive analytics use cases. Okay, so you can see customer churn example, customer lifetime value, sentiment analysis, risk modeling, quality assurance. A lot of examples are there in this. Okay, right. These are some of the use cases you can give to the students. Next example, you can see, next slide, you can see, next example, you can see every field of research is used, predictive analytics is used in that. You can see whether it is insurance, banking, financial services, telecommunications, marketing, retail, pharmaceuticals, oil and gas, healthcare, everywhere we are using predictive analytics, industry applications. So just imagine what is the need for this predictive analytics. Okay. Yeah. Go to the next slide. Yeah. Here you can see what is the relationship between big data analytics and predictive analytics in deep learning. Okay. Where in big data ecosystem, okay, these are all different fields. You can see various departments are there where an ecosystem need to be developed. You need to work, if you want to do a lot of work related to a lot of data science, big data analytics and deep learning stuff. You can see RFIDs, you can see sensors, social networking, lot of GPS information, lot of clickstream information, everything. Here you can see only 4 V's, but in the next slide I will show you 10 V's are there. Not only volume, variety, velocity, value are there. There are 10 V's are there. Presently people are working in. So I can show you that. Please go to the next slide. You can see there What are the 10 V's are there? You can see starting from velocity, you have variety, veracity, variability, validity, vulnerability, volatility, visualization, volume, value. See, all different 10 V's are there, which is making big data so powerful, okay, in the modern day. What is that volume is? We are dealing a lot of data in terms of terabytes of data, petabytes of data you are working now. Value is for like what is its usefulness in health outcomes. Velocity, at what speed data can be accessed. Variety, that is structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, quasi-structured data that you're using there. Veracity is the confidence or trustability you are using there. So variability is the consistency is an important parameter there. Validity is how long it can be valid. Accuracy. What is the accuracy? Is a very important parameter. Okay. Vulnerability is like data security and data breach, whether it is safe or not. So you need to take into consideration privacy and security are important consideration. And the last, you can go for like volatility and visualization. Volatility is like how long this WS data is considered absolute or irrelevant. Okay, so relevance is an important parameter. And visualization, how challenging it is to visualize WS data, hardware and software limitations. Okay, yeah, go to the next slide. Yeah, here you can see earlier I told you like in machine learning, mainly we come across 3 different cases: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. So supervised learning, always you require a guide or supervisor. Okay, unsupervised learning, it is irrespective of the guide or supervisor, we can work. Okay, like, you can see makes machine learn explicitly. Unsupervised learning, machine understands the data. It identifies patterns and structures. Evaluation is quantitative. Okay, right. And it does not predict. Actually, it's unsupervised learning does not predict actually. Okay, but supervised learning is the one which we use for predicting. So definitely more of COVID-19 research, if you want to predict anything, supervised learning is the best one. Reinforcement learning is an approach for AI. So reward-based learning, from positive to negative reinforcement is done here. Okay. So go to the next slide. You can see what is this supervised learning in predictive analytics. You can see that raw data you are seeing. Bubbles you are seeing 3 different colors are there clustered in single one. What is your algorithm is what is the output is you are expecting is the 3 different colors you need to cluster it separately. That is what you can see in the outputs. So you have seen that red, violet and green are all clustered separately. So once this input raw data is given to the algorithm, okay, so here a lot of supervisors are working on training a data set and desired output. And this algorithm is pre-processed and then final output you are going to get it in supervised learning. Okay, yeah. This is what I wanted to explain regarding predictive analytics. Predictive analytics is a very important parameter in the modern day research in machine deep learning and data science. That's why I explained you a little bit brief and deeper into that particular content. Next, when you are working into deep learning, people generally come across if you are using something related to images, something you are related to computer vision stuff, you are doing a lot of research, then you have to work a little bit of GPU, you are going to work like graphics processing unit you will be working on. So the differences between CPU and GPU will be coming across. So what are the differences? What are the main differences between CPU and GPU? You can see in the table. You can see in the table why mainly we use generally GPU is mainly used for data parallelism. CPU is mainly used for task parallelism. Okay. So where CPU is having high performance on single thread of execution. So single task you will take it and complete it at best. GPU is not like that. It generally goes for parallel processing. Data parallelized and parallel tasks are taken and output is given. And generally in GPU, it runs on a program on each fragment and vertex, and a lot of different process threads are worked in CPU. Okay, really fast catches, great for data reuse are worked in CPU, and a lot of mathematical units, mathematical calculations, a lot of mathematical stuff is used in GPU. That's why deep learning people generally take GPU. It is not like a GPU and deep learning are same. Frankly speaking, deep learning and GPU are not related to each other. since a lot of mathematical calculations are performed using GPU, deep learning they are using GPU, because deep learning requires a lot of mathematical units, a lot of mathematical operations. Okay, yeah. Next slide. You can see here, you can see the three important parameters that you come across. GPU means general purpose graphical processing unit. Okay, so don't get confused why double GP is given there. GP is graphics processing unit. GPU is general purpose graphics processing unit, where we generally use all this context switching automatically done in hardware, whereas in software we generally do in CPU. Okay, thread management we generally use thread scheduler and dispatch unit implemented in hardware, whereas if we do it in software. The same thing is for parallelism. We concentrate more of in software when you go for CPU. We concentrate more of in hardware when you go for in GPU. You can see this performance measures. You can see in the next slide. Please go to the next slide. Maheshwari madam, please go to the next slide. Okay, I'll be rushing out a little bit faster now. A lot of slides are there. So you can see here, total number of vertices are there. Okay, and size of adjacent matrices, CPU time, GPU time, you can see. You can see there is a lot of variation is there from CPU and GPU. Within very quick time, you can perform the task nearly 45 times than that of what you do in CPU. Okay, please go to the next slide. Please go to the next slide, where you can see these are three different things. Earlier we discussed only CPU and GPU. Here we can discuss about CPU, GPU and APU. APU is for AMD Accelerated Processing Unit. CPU is for like multi-core CPUs. GPU is for external GPUs and you generally use for. Okay, I'm not going to go deeper into this. Okay, right. So the next slide you can see different processings are there. FPGA processing, CPU processing. Okay, GPU processing is there. You have DSP, digital signal processing. People are doing research. And if you are interested, you can do a lot of work in this. Lot of research, lot of area of research is happening now. This complexity is increasing day to day. People are getting confused. Here. Okay, right. So please go to the next slide. I'm not going to go deeper into this. Just I showed you. I want to share this information with everybody so that this you can share it with the faculty. You can see here. What is the important difference in terms of training, inference, flexibility? Which one is the best? Which one is ASICs? If you see, they are the highest in processing peak power. In terms of training, in terms of inference, you can see FPGAs are the best for inference. You can see, and you can see in training CPUs are very poor. Okay, but in flexibility CPUs are highest. Okay, and power consumption GPUs are very high. And you can see the difference that I have given it there. Okay, all that. In the next slide, you can see a lot of architecture difference I have given it. What is the main difference in GPU and CPU in terms of architecture? Okay, and these are the things I will not go deeper into this. More different. Next slide, please. Next slide. I'll just show you quickly each slide. Okay, and I will be concluding. Why? Because this, in fact, this next 20 to 15 slides, I have taken one separate hour, actually a webinar for Amity University. Okay, right. These are all like modern popular frameworks that a modern engineering student and faculty should know. That's why I have kept all these frameworks here. You can see a lot of MXNet, PyTorch, TensorFlow, GPU, CUDD, and all that is used. You can see quickly just show them each slide, Maheshwari madam. Next slide, you can see PyTorch is used. You can see all the different explanation, precise explanation is given. You can see MXNet. You can go for the next one. You have TensorFlow. Next slide, if you can see, TensorFlow deployment resources are there. You can go through all that. Next, you can see MATLAB is also used for machine learning and deep learning. You can do, okay, you have Caffe is a very important.
Thank you, Dr. Banu Prakash. Hi all, this is Dr. Preeta George on behalf of the organizing committee taking up the charge of the latest session of International Faculty Development Program. Banu sir, I think he has lost the connection, and we are happy that we have our coordinator, Office of International Relations, Dr. Kausalya, with us, and I request Kausalya ma'am to grace this occasion, and she was a pillar of support for us to conduct this program. Ma'am, please.
Yes, thank you, Preeta ma'am. Is it audible, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Is it audible? Okay. Good afternoon to the dignitaries and participants of this event. It is a great pleasure to address on this day of the series of the Faculty Development Program. With the world moving towards automation, where artificial intelligence plays a vital role and deep learning is a subset of machine learning, in artificial intelligence, the network capabilities of learning unsupervised from data that is unstructured or unlabeled. A session about knowing all the futuristic inventions heard in stories or seen in movies is not far away from us. And one such program is delivered by Professor Banu Prakash today, which is more valuable to the participants and in turn which will benefit to the society. And my sincere thanks on this great day to our dynamic and honorable president for his constant support, guidance and generous funding through all the international programs. And I got impressed by Dean EMS Engineering and Science, Dr. Subhashree ma'am, for all the hard work, dedication and commitment which has made this FDP a grand success. Thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity given, and thank you one and all. Thank you.
Thank you, Kausalya ma'am. Dr. Banu Prakash, are you here? Okay, hope he is not with us, and I request our Dean ENTS, Dr. N.S. Subhashree, who makes everything possible in no time with a magical touch. And I request ma'am to share a happy note about the successful completion of this International Faculty Development Program. Ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Preeta. Good afternoon, one and all present here. It is my privilege to brief about the EFDP which we conducted in association with Office of International Relations from 9th to 13th June 2020. Before going to what happened in the past 5 days, I would like to extend my thanks to our President for permitting us to host such a program. Dimensions. It's a very popular, very fundamental term in physics. Dimension refers to an aspect or feature of a situation that is measurable. Scaling involves creating a continuum upon which things are measured. This EFDP witnessed sessions that gave us an insight of the current technologies, that is your artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning, applied to the current scientific area, namely the MMA, multi-messenger astronomy. We also had a taste of the research collaborations and the opportunities, internship, etc., available globally. And also we had touched upon the mentoring of students in various skills, especially technical and entrepreneurial skills. All these were brought under a single umbrella under the topic multi-dimensional scaling from science to technology. I hope it would have accelerated your innovations. We all witnessed the day one, which opened a research opportunity in Taiwan. Literally, we were taken into a virtual tour by Dr. Vinod Kumar, Joint Faculty, Department of Chemistry from KMU University, Taiwan. They too witnessed a very good session, which was totally different, which was about mentoring students in various skills and what are the skills that a faculty should possess in order to mentor students. I hope that was very interesting session. Day 3 actually witnessed the real interdisciplinary research areas. We had a glimpse of artificial intelligence and machine learning blended into MMA, that is multi-messenger astronomy. It was done by Dr. Krishna Kumar. Day 4, again we had a cloud computing with MMA that was done by Mr. Rajesh Kumar. Day 5 today, the deep learning techniques by Dr. K. Banu Prakash. At this juncture, I would say that it was a really wonderful experience sharing the presentation of Mr. Banu Prakash. And I'm very glad to say that he was our colleague, and seeing a colleague coming to this stage is really very, very happy for us. As somebody told, we are just rewinding our days when we were working together. Thank you, Banu Prakash, for the wonderful session. This FTP have opened up many avenues for interdisciplinary research globally that involves understanding of scientific concepts, applying to real situation to provide a new technology for solving problems. At this juncture again, I would like to mention this program housed more than 250 participants across the nation. I thank all the participants for spending their valuable time with us. This 5-day exciting journey would not have been possible without my team. A team, a leader, a teamwork involves leading a team, giving freedom to use talents, learning from mistakes, guiding them to work together towards a compelling vision, showing up as a leader and develop leaders within, giving them what they want to be successful, create an environment of fun and enjoyment, taking up responsibilities, be decisive and purposeful, give them something to learn and grow, encourage to be brave, create win-win situation. These are the essence of a leader, a team, a teamwork. I think I'm proud to say that me and my team have done this with a great success. Together we can move mountains. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is a progress, working together is a success. So I think today we have tasted the success and we are proudly claiming that we have successfully organized this online FTP in association with the support of Office of International Relations. Special thanks to Dr. Kausalya Madam for all the support she has rendered for us. I could not find any words in the dictionary to appreciate my technical team. Ms. Maheshwari, Mr. Saravanan, Ms. Anu Varghese and Ms. Chinchu Nair, they have done really an excellent work with great sincerity and dedication and made this journey possible. Thank you, team. Thanks a lot. Thank you for your efforts. I appreciate Dr. Lata and Dr. Preeta for their MC for all these 5 days with instant comments and adorable language. Special thanks to Ms. Hemalata, who was behind the screen in coordinating with all the participants, and Ms. Aparna for her PowerPoint presentation. I appreciate and thank all the other members of my team who were involved in the preparatory work as well as in taking up various responsible roles. I am really proud of my team. Thank you, team. Thank you, one and all present here. Thanks to the management, thanks to the joint registrars, deans, directors, and all the other executives who have helped us in completing this FTP successfully. Thank you all. Thanks for the opportunity, and thank you again.
He is not able to connect again, so kindly bear with us, all the audience. But we have some few words to tell about Bhanu Prakash. He have given a wonderful session today, and we proudly remember the days which we spent together with the Dr. Bhanu in the Triangular Block as a family of physics in the MGR University. Thank you, Dr. Bhanu, for sharing your deepest knowledge with us in the topic of deep learning. Deep learning with a deep imagination, a roadmap to spring artificial intelligence and autumn artificial intelligence. With this note, I am going for the session of vote of thanks. I request Ms. Maheshwari from the Department of CSE to propose the vote of thanks. Maheshwari, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, one and all present here. I deem it was a great honor to propose the vote of thanks to all who have helped us in making this international EFTP such a resounding success. First of all, I would like to propose my hearty vote of thanks to our founder chancellor, Dr. A.C. Shanmugam sir, our beloved president engineer, ACS Arun Kumar sir, vice chancellor, Dr. S. Geeta Lakshmi ma'am, joint registrar academics and admin, Dr. V. Cyril Raj sir, Joint Registrar Engineering and Science, Dr. D.B. Jabaraj sir, and Dr. Kausalya, Coordinator International Relational Office, for providing us the opportunity. On behalf of Dr. MGR Education Research Institute, BTech First Year Campus, I extend a hearty vote of thanks to our Chief Guest, Dr. Kolla Bhanu Prakash, who spared his time to grace the occasion. I would like to thank our distinguished speakers for making excellent presentations and making this FGP interesting and meaningful. I would like to thank specially our Dean Engineering and Science, Dr. N.R. Subhashri ma'am, for a moral support and guidance through this program. And I express my gratitude towards various committee members who have made this FGP a grand success. A special thanks to our technical crew, Ms. Anu and Ms. Chinchu from CSE department and Mr. Saravanan from Mechanical department for the support. Finally, our wonderful participants who have turned up in a great numbers, thank you for your cooperation. Thank you all. Stay home, stay safe.
Thank you, Maheshwari ma'am. Dear participants, attendance link along with the feedback link was rolled out in the live chat. Kindly fill it. And thank you all for being with us for the past 5 days and to make this program a grand success. A good event never ends in the world. They take only a pause and keep us waiting for the next. Thank you all for being a wonderful audience. Thank you.